Welcome to the Jamesburg Presbyterian Church. Today is Wednesday, February the 24th, 2021. So today's talk kind of comes in three parts. The first part has to do with this box. A few years ago, or some time ago, a friend of mine gave me this box, and with the explanation, he thought I could use it. It's a wine box. It was used by a vendor to transport bottles of wine from where they were bottled to a wine store. This particular box was transporting Ruffino Chianti Classico. So it did have a lid. It did have completely in great shape, dovetailed edges, and in good shape. So I took it home, and the first thing my wife said to me was, "What is that, and what are you planning on doing with it?" I said, "Well, it's a wine box, and I'm planning on doing something really cool with it." And she said, "Like what?" I said, "I can't tell you right now." And she said, "Because you don't know." And she says, "It's just going to be more clutter that we need to get rid of." I said, "Well, for now, I'm going to put it aside, and we'll come back to it," which is exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to put it aside and come back to it. Part two. COVID's not going to be with us forever. If you look at the history of 1918, 1919, 1920, the time of the pandemic Spanish flu, the so-called Spanish flu, you'll know that for a while things were pretty bad. There were a lot of deaths, especially in the New York area, I believe. A lot of deaths in Philadelphia as people came to believe wrongly that if you went to the bars and drank, the alcohol would kill the virus. So there were a lot of drunk, sick people running around Philadelphia. Anyway, it didn't work, but eventually we were able to figure out, humanity was able to figure out what to do with that virus. We achieved a herd immunity, and life went back to what it was previous to the Spanish flu. In other words, people weren't wearing masks and doing all that social distancing. And as a matter of fact, we know that to be the case because back in 2018, 2019, we weren't doing social distancing and we weren't wearing masks. So I'm absolutely convinced that this COVID-19 stuff is not going to be with us forever. So in planning for the future, I started thinking about what is it that I'm going to do? What will I be able to do when I am allowed to do, or when it's possible to do magic shows again? So I started learning some new things. Got some books out, got some videos that I have available to me, and started watching some things and learning some things. I also started investing in a new show. And there was a particular company that I bought some things from. And one of the things I bought came recently in a cardboard box, 10 parts, 9 of which were wrapped in bubble wrap. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's possible I could lose some of these things. I don't really want to store this in a cardboard box. Cardboard boxes are hard to carry around. If I took it to like a library, because it would be a perfect illusion for a library show, if I took it to a library, I would have to deal with all these parts in a flimsy cardboard box. Then I remembered the wine box. I remembered that I had it on a shelf in a room, and it was not doing anything. I remembered that it was sturdy. I remembered that I had the lid to it. And so I got out a tape measure, measured the cardboard box, then measured the wine box, and discovered that the wine box was basically the same size as the cardboard box. A little bit bigger, but I needed bigger. And so what I did is I took the wine box down from the shelf, took it to a place to work on, and all I did was invest into it 2 hinges, 2 hasps, a suitcase handle, some T-nuts, and some screws. I did it in brass because the hinges were in brass, and so were the hasps. Actually, they don't. One is a shiny brass, and the other's a tarnished brass to make it look older. It doesn't really matter to me because the brass is not the important. The color of the brass is not the important part. It's the fact that the hinges work and the hasps hold the door closed. There's one last thing I did. I'm going to open this. I'm not performing this today. I'm not ready to do that. Eventually, maybe, but not today. The other thing I did was I put padding in here all around the edges so that the illusion would not move around, would not be damaged in the box. I also put padding here so that the illusion would not be scratched by the door. I put padding on where the screws came through the door so that they would not harm the illusion. And then if I showed you more of this, which I can't do, you would see that I also have some felt in the floor of this box to keep things separated and also to keep things from being damaged. So where is this going? That brings us to part 3. This all started with with something that was considered to be useless, a box, a wooden box. I had no plan for it, something that was hanging around, and then all of a sudden, the realization that it could be used. If I went out and bought a travel box for this illusion, it would cost me several $100s. I could also build a travel box that would also cost me money and a considerable amount of time cutting out the wood, nailing and gluing the wood together, time that I really don't have or want to spend at this point in my life. But here was the box doing nothing, and now with a realization that it could become quite valuable in terms of the time it would save me, the money it would save me, minimal investment in hardware, and voila, I had a travel case for an illusion, a very pricey illusion, I might add. It begs the question for me, what in our lives do we have things that we might not think are valuable, but could be valuable if we invested a little bit of time and thought into them? What could we take in our homes, in the stuff that we have, and turn it into something useful for ourselves or useful for other people? That's question number 1. Question number 2, there are people in our lives that we might think are useless, kind of like this box. People that we haven't really invested any time in getting to know, people that we haven't invested any time in, people that we haven't gotten to know very well. What people in our lives, what persons in our lives, if we just took a little bit of time, could we find them to be important to us, more important than perhaps we realize they are at this point in time? Are we investing time in other people? Are we taking the material things that we have and utilizing them for not only our own good, but for the good of other people? The third question, and these are all questions that only you can answer. The third question is, what do you believe about the future? What do you believe will happen? I believe that COVID is not here to stay. I can't tell you when we won't be dealing with it, but I do believe that it's not here to stay, and I am planning for the future. I am investing in my magic show. I bought another prop. Unfortunately, it won't fit in a wine box, so I'm going to have to do something different there. But I've invested in that, and part of that other prop is for a Christmas show. So I am preparing for the future. I do believe that COVID is not with us forever. What are you doing? What are each one of you doing to invest in your future? What do you believe about COVID? Do you have hope in your future? Do you have hope in tomorrow? Are you taking the wine boxes of your life and turning them into travel cases for props that will help you as we emerge from this COVID pandemic. Anyway, that's my lesson for today, my devotional for today. It's not really a magic piece, but yet in a way it is a magic piece because I magically transformed something that my wife thought I should throw away into something that saves me money and time and protects a valuable prop. Thank you very much for watching. I will be here on Sunday, and we will again return on the book of Tobit for our devotional. I hope all of you will tune in for that. Thank you very much. Be safe, be well, and have a hopeful future.